Hello and welcome to our special episode, Lessons to Advance Your Career, a podcast where we talk to experts from all over the world to uncover lessons that will help you shape and improve your career. The goal of our program is simple, making the world a little wiser, one lesson at a time. My name is Siebe Vanderzee and I'm your host. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a global executive recruiter with more than 25 years of experience, helping companies find the best possible talent and helping people find their perfect job. Our guest today is Dawn Christman. Dawn is a human capital executive with extensive experience in talent acquisition, talent operations, and coaching across North and South America, Europe, and Asia. In the past, Dawn worked for global recruitment companies like Randstad, Korn Ferry, and Alexander Mann Solutions. She currently runs her own consulting firm named Dimensional Talent. Dawn is also serving on the executive advisory board for Jobs for Humanity. Her board work is a natural complement to her human-centric leadership style, driven by her personal belief that people are capable of far more than they realize. You can learn a lot more about Dawn Christman on our website, 10lessonslearned.com. Hello, Dawn. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Siva. Great to be here.
I really look forward to our conversation related to advancing your career. You reference your human-centric leadership style. What do you mean with that?
It's kind of the point that you mentioned about thinking people are really capable of far more than they believe they are. They are. A human-centric way of doing things, in my mind, is really working with folks to figure that out. Looking at not the person right in front of you, but everything around them and inside that motivates them. That there can be something that they don't do every day in a job that's part of their job description, and they never bring that other side out because no one's ever asked them or talked to them about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I gave a quick introduction of your background, very impressive, covering the world. But how would you describe yourself and your professional career? What is the best way to get to know you?
So I've spent my entire career in the human capital space. Right? Everything from being a straight commission recruiter to building solutions and selling that option into organizations and then building the operations inside organizations and leading big TA teams. So really that start to finish operational side and everything to do with people.
In your career, have you had any challenges, or perhaps are you the one that has only experienced success?
That's funny. I don't think that exists for anyone out there, honestly. Absolutely. So challenges might be when I was in sales, right? Finding the right clients and getting them to listen to me and understanding what I could offer. Being in talent acquisition and talent acquisition operations, looking at the people that we had inside. I've always had to work in very lean environments, right? So understanding what I could get done and figuring out efficiencies and effectiveness and still taking really good care of my people. And from an operations standpoint, really looking at what are we doing right? What are we doing that's not necessarily right? And how do we fix that?
How do we fix that? That's always challenging. When you are coaching individuals, can you describe your coaching style, how you work with candidates and figure out where they're coming from and where they're going?
I really try to have a conversation, right? Like person to person. I talk about personal experiences I've had. It's never easy in any kind of job to move forward and progress within your career. You've got to do things to get you to the next level. And sometimes having someone else saying, just say it like it is. Tell me what's going on. What are the opportunities that you've got? Think about challenges as opportunities and how together do we figure that out? Sometimes it's unweaving the mess. I happen to like chaos and I happen to like messes, right? For me to walk into a situation where a team's not working, a person's struggling in a role, a leader's having a challenge with trying to gain new clients or work with the team that they have, it's like, okay, let's just talk about it. What are the things that are happening? And let's figure out the why. And then you can solution it.
Of course, worldwide, we're dealing with an economy that deals with a lot of challenges. In the United States, we're dealing with challenges as well. When we're talking about career advancement, as you and I know, there are different elements that are part of career advancement. Of course, leaving your current job is one of them. Finding a new job, positioning yourself for a new opportunity, whether it's within the company you're working for or with another company. Accepting a job offer, which is not always just here you go and sign it, also onboarding into a new position. Those are all elements that I think we all deal with when we go through that transition. I'm curious, in your experience, when it comes to positioning yourself for a new opportunity, whether it's with the company you're working for or that you say, I should look somewhere else. What is your experience and perhaps your suggestions when it comes to positioning yourself for a new opportunity?
So I think a couple of things. I'm glad you said internally or externally, because I think before anyone makes a decision to leave somewhere or make a transition, either from the role that you're in inside and you want to go somewhere else within an organization, or where you're at now and where you're going to go outside, you have to figure out the why. Why do you want to do it? Is it personally motivated by opportunity for advancement, more skills? You believe better in the brand or the company you're going to. It's a change in your compensation, and that's better for yourself, for your life. Like, what's the why behind it, right? If you are motivated by leaving because you're not maybe getting along with a leader or a manager, or you have something else that's happening within the team, I would always advise somebody have a conversation before you make that decision, right? Try to figure out what's going on that maybe could help you turn that corner and stay with the brand and the company that you're with, right? You don't know what's happening behind the scenes with anybody. Have empathy, right? There might be something happening that could actually have nothing to do with you, that's motivating your leader or the company to be acting in a certain way. So that's the first thing I would say if you're thinking about moving inside to a different role or outside. From a standpoint of positioning yourself, I always tell folks, if you're going to wait for a job title change or wait for more compensation inside your current company to actually do other work, don't, right? If there's something that you see that you have an interest in, if there's something that you see that would maybe fulfill something from a personal standpoint, pick it up and raise your hand, offer to do it, right? Because that fulfillment you might get might be the missing piece for you.
Yeah.
And might be the thing that takes your career to the next level.
What would you do, or what would you suggest if someone is trying to advance in their career, whether it's with the same company or with another company, and they are not successful? Of course, that happens on a daily basis, right? But it does for many people, it's a psychological issue, like, oh my gosh, nobody likes me, nobody wants me, which is of course not true. But what would be your advice to people when they say it's just not working?
Yeah, it's hard, right? When you feel like you're hitting your head up against a wall.
Yeah.
But there are people in your community, outside your community, around you that are feeling the same, thinking the same. And there's lots of advocates out there, right? Inside organizations, it could be your coworkers. You could actually have a mentor, find a mentor, right? Use your mentoring program inside,
Yeah.
right? You could be you could join a board. You could join a nonprofit board, right? Those are things that I do and I absolutely love it. And one of the things that's great about that is you get other people outside that aren't in the same environment you are, thinking and doing things differently, right? There are support systems. It's just a matter of looking for them and asking questions. It doesn't hurt to ask a question. Sometimes it might feel like it does, but it does not hurt to ask a question of your manager, of a coworker, of someone else outside.
When someone hires someone, looking for someone, what are they looking for? And it's a bit of a trick question here, Dawn, but how do you know if you're interested in perhaps a new position? How do you know what that position entails and what they're looking for as far as maybe the personality that fits with that job. How do you discover that as a potential candidate?
Ask a lot of questions, right? You
Yeah.
know, do some research and see if everything measures up. You want to make sure that you're asking a lot of questions and making sure that you're asking the right kind of questions that matter to you. So when someone goes through the interview process, there are set standard questions that everybody's going to ask. Hiring managers are going to have the information that they need to answer. And I would say it's interesting that you say about if you want to work for the company, right? I would say a lot of times what I will coach hiring leaders on is it's great to have all these skills, but what are you missing inside your team, right? What
Yeah.
is it inside of team fit? So there's 5 people on your team, 1 person left. Why is that? And if culturally, you already understand what you need culturally, but culturally inside that team is just as important as the company culture. So I'd ask a lot of questions. I'd make sure it aligns to what you want, what you're looking for, as well as what's the challenge, right? Does it meet the challenge that you want, right? So if you've left a company because you now, for some reason, don't believe in the brand or what the company's doing, okay, great. But does that new company you're going to, have you researched enough to make sure that it actually
Ah,
replaces that, right? So you do feel great about the new place you're going. So ask a lot of questions, make the connections and make sure they're connecting what you want.
ask a lot of questions, and you just mentioned do research. And well, if I can ask you again, how do you do research?
Ask your networks, right? Go into your networks, go through professional groups. Of course, you can go to company websites, but there's all different kinds of ways in social media you can research and you can look at kind of anything and everything out there now with social media, right? But sometimes it's connecting with people who actually work there or know somebody who works there, or even more importantly, someone who left there and connecting them with them and just asking them questions, right? I always tell folks that it doesn't matter if someone works for an organization or they worked for an organization or they interviewed with an organization and they weren't hired. All of those folks are going to carry a client company's brand forward, right? And how you take care of them is the brand that they're going to carry forward. So take really good care of them. I would say that same thing to somebody who is looking for a job. Make sure you do your research and you ask the questions and you look in your networks to make sure that at the end of the day, it's what you want to do and how you want to be taken care of and cared for.
From a company perspective in this situation, uh, they have to keep information confidential. So if you are a candidate and you like to learn more, it could be that the company is limited in providing you with information about the exact position or where the company is going, anything strategic that they're dealing with. Um, so do you, as a candidate, do you have to be, I almost want to say cynical and say, hey, I don't know if I have the whole story here. Do you have to compare information from different sources and make sure that you get a good feeling? Because again, it could be that the company itself is not going to let you know that they're on the brink of bankruptcy, just to make it extreme.
Here's the truth. You're never going to know every single little thing about any job,
Yeah.
right? Because exactly what you said, sometimes there's things that just can't be said. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are changes that even your manager that you're interviewing with might not even know.
Yeah.
And it's no fault of their own. They're maybe not at a level, at a career spot where they're not quite there. Or maybe to your point, they're in an executive position where they can't say it,
Yeah.
right? So you have to understand some of that. So do your due diligence, right? Ask the questions. Ask to talk to more than one person. Like I will advise people to ask to talk to somebody that's on the team, not the executive, not the manager. Ask to somebody who's on the team, doing that job, leading in a team, underneath this leader. And I mean, most companies will let you do that, right? And if
Yeah.
they're not doing that, maybe
Well,
you should think.
and I to that point, I think if a candidate is asking for, meeting with people in the organization, it also expresses a great interest. You are interested in that position. You want to learn more. You like to communicate with people who perhaps would be your colleagues. So it could be very, very positive to include that. But doing the research, asking questions, like you said, very important. And it could be difficult for people because, look, not everybody goes through this process on an annual basis, hopefully, right?
For
You
sure.
have a job, you work somewhere for a number of years, and oops, suddenly you have to find, how do you do that? And it feels uncomfortable in a way, can I say, to promote yourself. Most people have the humility to say, hey, here's my resume, and do you have any questions? Instead of saying, well, I can do this, I can do that, which is a good thing that they don't have that, but you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're
Yep,
in
I
that
do.
process. We're talking today with Dawn Christman, a human capital executive with expertise in talent acquisition, talent operations, and coaching across the Americas, Europe, and Asia, sharing her wisdom for career advancement. Before we move on, here is a quick message for our listeners. If you like our podcast and you actually see value in our episodes, please consider supporting 10 Lessons Learned. Whether it is sharing the show with a friend, leaving a review, or checking out our affiliate partner, Audible, every bit helps us bring you the lessons that matter most. Moving on, Don, I want to ask you another question.
Sure.
Is there perhaps a lesson that you have learned in your life, in your career, that you wish you would have learned when you were, let's say, 25 years old?
So I would probably say everybody learn the lesson that everybody gets respect right off the bat, but they don't get the respect because of the title that they have, right? You have to understand, just like you're interviewing for a job, looking for a different career, what's behind that job, what's behind that career progression, what's behind the person.
Yeah.
I think when you understand that, you understand how to work better with someone. You understand that, okay, the career progression of this person, that's why they're the leader. Awesome. These are the things I can learn from them. These are the places that they can help me excel and grow. You mentioned earlier about how you figure out what a job is about, right? And how you figure out if it's a right place. And I think one of the things about the interview process is talking to people that are actually doing the job. So think about from, again, progression, forget about everybody's title, but those people that are doing the job or the people that are under that leader,
Yeah.
how does it make them feel from a growth and a professional fulfillment that, wow, my manager is asking me to interview a candidate and be involved in the decision-making process of bringing somebody new that I'll be working with every day. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So that is care and watering of people, right? Development opportunity for people. And again, forget about the title. Respect the title and think about where you can learn and what you can glean from everybody you work with, no
Yeah.
matter what the level they are in the organization and what they're doing, and get them involved.
Great point. I'm thinking also of individuals that go through their career transition advancement and they are perhaps optimistic and say, hey, I'm looking forward. This job that I see posted looks great. And somehow, guess what? It doesn't work. And they try another opportunity, and guess what? It doesn't work. People sometimes get stuck in that process. They get frustrated. It hasn't worked. They have a good background in their minds as well, but it just doesn't seem to work. And it can create, of course, I don't want to say depression. It could, but like, well, I'm not going to try it because, this other company didn't want to talk to me. But what advice do you have when people feel emotionally stuck because they are not able to find the job that they think they deserve and position themselves for. It's just not working. What advice do you have?
Talk to people, right? Get out to your network, get out of your bubble, right? That alone by yourself bubble is dangerous, to your point about depression, right? It's a real thing. And I think everybody saw that bubble up a lot during COVID because people were locked indoors, couldn't go anywhere. Maybe there were people that were used to going to an office every single day and now they couldn't, right? So they are missing that social piece of it. So I would say you learned before that you can make things happen even if you're not in front of someone. So get out of that bubble, pick up the phone, talk to someone, work through your network, send a message, right? Start looking at things differently, right? Redo your resume. If you've got skill sets in X, Y, and Z, but you've also done A, B, and C, then look at how you reinvent yourself and you actually make it work.
Yeah.
So it's a different way to start thinking, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things. So back to your point about believing that people have more and offer more than what they believe, it's finding all those other things
Yeah.
and then using them to move forward. I think from a standpoint of how do you do that when you're not the person that stands out and says, rah, rah, I'm awesome? Yeah, you have to kind of stop that. And you have to start thinking, I am awesome. And here's why in all of these other ways. Or if you're not feeling up to that, talk to the person who worked with you before, right? Talk to the person who led you before. They gave you a referral. They gave you a reference. They wrote you a recommendation on LinkedIn. Look at LinkedIn and all your recommendations. There are fabulous things about you. It's just sometimes stopping and figuring that out.
I'm so glad you're saying this, and because I agree, and I've seen this over the years, that self-confidence can drop tremendously when people do not find their next job, or they apply and it's just not working, and one after the other. And of course, that's not a good mindset for success if you no longer believe that you are the right person. Sometimes, and I know not everybody's capable to do that, in a position to do that, taking a break, leaving perhaps, the town where you're living and go to the ocean or go into the mountains or do something that you enjoy doing, just to put your mind away from this pressure that you're under. It also helps, like you said, and I appreciate that very much, talking to people. And what you just said, I think, is so encouraging. People have value. They have achievements. And if they start underestimating themselves and say, well, it's not working and nobody wants to talk to me and I didn't get this job, we all understand that's a mental issue. But I also strongly believe, and I know you're saying it very well, that we have the mental ability to train our brain and to set our brain on, I got to find this job and I know I can do the job, and don't be distracted by other noise from people that says, well, I don't think you're the right candidate. We hired someone else. My old boss, as you know, told me this on a daily basis, and I mean it in a respectful way. Get over it. Don't create mental barriers for yourself. Very important for people to say that, but I appreciate you mentioned that. So, Dawn, I also am curious. We talked about the 5 elements of career advancement, and we talked about positioning yourself for a new opportunity. But what about leaving your current job and everything that comes with that? That's not an easy process for many people, right? When they are deciding to leave, or the company decided you have to leave. What can you share about that?
I think there's a couple of things. If you are deciding to leave, again, ask a lot of questions, and not just like we were talking about earlier of the potential new employer. Look at your current employer, right? Are there opportunities inside? Are there opportunities inside that might be global and you have an interest in that? I think part of it is figuring out what you want to do and what's motivating you to leave that organization. If it's opportunity to do something awesome and new and different and great, bigger, more fundamental in the structure of an organization, like whatever motivates you, okay, great. But if you're leaving because you don't understand what's happening inside the business, or you don't understand what's happening with leadership, or you're not happy with what's happening with leadership, look farther into that and more into that before you make a change. You might have an incredible opportunity inside, and you might have somebody who will be a mentor to you, right? Or you might have somebody who is looking for your skill sets that they didn't know you had, right? Companies will always hire someone from within before they'll go outside, right? Think about it from a company perspective. How much time and money does it take to go through the whole recruitment process? Let's say you can't find them yourself, so you have to pay an agency fee, or you're paying posting fees or advertising fees, whatever, all that front end side. Now you have to bring somebody in. You have to find somebody to train them. You have to onboard them, get them all their technologies, do all the things that you need to do to get them in the job. Now you have their uptime, right? Where you have to train them up on all the skills, train them up on all the technologies. And let's be honest, they're probably not settling in for 6, 9, 12 months. So how much time have you now as a company wasted that you could have just taken somebody who wants to be inside and wants to move within the business and just help them there? I'd say the same thing to that person who's thinking about leaving, thinking about that way. You're not going to go into that new job and instantly be a success and instantly have impact. You'll have some instant impact, but it's going to take you a minute too. So is there something really phenomenal here that you're not looking at? If you've researched it and asked around and looked around and you've come to that conclusion, great. If you think this new opportunity is going to offer you something that is phenomenal, great. But dig into it a little bit more.
Now, I like all of that, and that's constructive. But I also know, and you have that experience as well, that letting people go sometimes, well, in some cases, you may just get an email or somebody says, guess what? We have decided you are no longer, an employee in our company. The emotional baggage. And yes, to be rational about it, and these are the steps, I'm all with you. But I also know, and I know you know this very well, how it affects people. And my gosh, I'm out of a job. I have to take care of my family. Where I'm going to find a new job? I've been with this company for whatever, 10 years, and suddenly I don't. How do you deal with that element when people come to you and say, I'm broken. I don't know what to do. And they took my job and nobody wants to talk to me.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of like we were talking before about depression and all of the things that go with that. Oh, right. I lost my job. I was
Yeah.
downsized, whatever the situation is, right? You're no longer there.
Yeah.
Okay. You take a minute because that is not a good situation. You can say whatever you want about the situation. It's not good.
Yeah.
Take a minute, then put it over here and then go down. And I've actually told folks, take a notebook, write on one page all the fabulous things that you learned. Write on the other page or in the other column, however you want to do it, all the things that you want to make sure the next place doesn't have.
Yeah.
Right. So back to, I think sometimes, honestly, identifying the things that aren't working and you don't want is even more important than the things that were phenomenal, because those are the things that demotivate you. And those are the things that stop you from being successful. Those are the things that put that doubt in your mind, right? So write it down, own them, and then say, okay, game on. What do I do next? And again, I know I've said it before, go into your network. There are other people out there that are in the same situation. And unfortunately, there's people that have been in that situation, unfortunately, several times in their career, right? I had someone I was visiting one day that said, I reinvented myself, right? I looked at doing something different and taking those skills and figuring out what those transferable skills were to do something different and to try something different. So I think it's not a good situation. It's not a comfortable situation, but every place you've been, you've got something out of it, right? You've learned something new. You've gotten a piece or a skill set out of it. Maybe you didn't get 10 things, but maybe you got one. And then on the other column or the other page that says the things that you didn't like or you don't want, you also learn that too, right? So don't
Yeah.
go back and do the same thing or go back into the same thing if it didn't work.
Yeah, makes sense. And I appreciate that. I'm also wondering, that's not for everyone, unfortunately, but negotiating a severance package, or at least, pay me the next 3 months of salary and I leave today, but at least you get some compensation. How, yeah, easy to ask, but how do you negotiate a severance package?
Yeah, I mean, you negotiate that. So first of all, there's only so much an organization can do, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what's happening in their organization, right? So that's kind of like you said earlier, you don't know what's happening at different levels within the organization. You can definitely ask, you can show the value you added, you can talk about the time you've been there, you can discuss and ask for the kinds of tools. Some companies will use outplacement organizations. Some places will have coaches, right? There might be things they do as part of their packages when there's a severance involved that can help you, not just from a financial standpoint, but from all those other things that will help you go into that next job.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because many times when that shock message comes down and said, hey, you're out, maybe not everybody is aware of saying, well, what do I have options and how do I take advantage of those options? But I'm glad you shared that. It's very important to include that in there as well when you are leaving a job, that there may be ways to get some level of support from the company that you are working for today, even though you're leaving, let's say, tomorrow. I want to ask you one other final question here. Is there perhaps a lesson that you have learned in your life, in your career that you have, I want to say, unlearned, when you decided, you know what, I got to do it differently? Anything that comes to mind, maybe?
Um, the first thing that you asked me about what I wish I would have learned earlier in my career, I would say the same thing, right? It is not about the title of the person, right? It is about the person and the work that they do, right? And I had to unlearn that
Mm-hmm.
because,
Mm-hmm.
how I grew up in the business, how I personally grew up, you have title X. This is what you do. This is your box. You stay in it. This is the level of respect you should have. And there's no questioning it. Right. But then you get into it and you start looking at it and saying, I don't know if that's the right way to think about that. Right. And I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky. I think having the ability, I worked globally remotely for a really long time. I would have never worked with the 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 types of folks, the level of folks around the world if I would not have been trusted to work in that kind of environment. There's no way. There's no way. I think having that kind of respect by title differs in different areas of the world and differs in different cultures and differs in different groups, right? So that I think opened my eyes a lot, right? And that is really where I probably got into the mode of, okay, forget about it. It doesn't matter. I have to figure out what I'm going to learn and how I'm going to work most effectively with all the people and all the talent around me. Yes, this person is this. That's phenomenal. Yes, this person is that. That's phenomenal too. But how do they fit into the picture? How do I work with them? A lot of times I've found that like I've had people tell me, well, I'm not going to go and talk to this person. Well, why aren't you going to go talk to that person? Well, because they're this. I'm like, yes, so that's okay. Just they're a human being too. Go and talk to them. If you've got an interest or you've got a thought process, go and talk to them and have that conversation. And I've also had people say, well, they're not going to listen to me. Well, why are they not going to listen to you? So it goes both ways. Well, because I'm this. So that doesn't matter. Go and talk to them. Ask the question. Now, I will also say that hopefully, regardless of what the level or the title of the person is, that they will, again, lead with empathy and understanding, and they will take 5 minutes to talk to that person, right? So I think there's some of that. And sometimes they have to be persistent. We've visited about scheduling and the craziness of schedules for people, and organizations are working and running so lean that people's time is limited. Okay, just understand that. So maybe the first time you reach out, somebody doesn't respond. Understand they might have 50 other things going on. It doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you, right? It doesn't mean they don't care. Ask again. So I think that was probably the biggest gift to first start with and learn, but then have to unlearn, because that opened up everything.
Well, Dawn, I'm very impressed, and thank you for sharing your lessons for career advancement with our global audience. In closing, I want to make a few remarks. You've been listening to our international program, Lessons to Advance Your Career. This episode is produced by Robert Hossery, and as always, we are supported by the Professional Development Forum. I also want to give my special thanks to our amazing team, Yi Wang, who manages our marketing and social media, and Cody Como, our episode editor. Our guest today is Dawn Christman, a human capital executive with expertise in talent acquisition, talent operations, and coaching across the Americas, Europe, and Asia, sharing her lessons for career advancement. And to our audience, I hope you enjoyed this special episode. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss a lesson that could impact your career and perhaps your life. Thank you for tuning in to 10 Lessons Learned, this special episode called Lessons to Advance Your Career. Our goal, as always, to make the world a little wiser, one lesson at a time. Thank you, and stay safe.